People who have been Santa at the mall, what's the creepiest thing a kid has asked for Christmas? Not me, not creepy, but a bit haunting. My dad used to be the Macy's Santa in NY. He had a kid come in who wanted his brother's cancer to go away. Brother came to the store too. A couple weeks later. Of course Santa has no control over these things. But being the Macy's Santa has some power. He was able to get the store to let them come in at a special time and pick out pretty much whatever they wanted. It was magical, and he still has the pictures. He would regularly write to them as Santa until after the brother died and went to visit him as Santa before he died. Tried to stay in touch with the family, but I think it was just too sad and the magic was gone. I have been Santa for several seasons. I had a special needs young woman approximate age of 40. Emotional of 12 perhaps asked me to make her boyfriend quit hitting her. I told a lady who was helping me to get the deputy sheriff at the event to come see me. I whispered to him what she had said. He came back 10 minutes later and asked if I would speak to her in a private area. There the deputy and Santa got a clearer but very disturbing picture of how she had been repeatedly abused. In May the deputy let me know the offender had been sentenced to 8 years and the girl had been relocated to new care facility. I wasn't a mall Santa, but one of the elves who took the pictures. We had two Santas. One was narcoleptic and we had to keep waking him up, and the other would bring his own homemade bags of coal to give to the kids who would cry, and we'd have to try to seize all the bags before he started his shift. That was a fun job. I was a Santa during 3 college years. The most memorable moment, a sad one, was a young boy who asked if I could bring him a new daddy because his had died during military service and his mommy was lonely. I saw the look of sorrow and pain in his pretty mother's face, even as she was trying to make Christmas special for her son. For their Uncle John to die. One of my most prized possessions is a homemade snow globe that was given to me by a random little girl. It has pride of place on my desk. The story. Every year, I get dressed up as Santa or the Slovak equivalent, Mikuláš, and tour around my town in a horse-drawn carriage, stopping at scheduled places to distribute Christmas biscuits to the town's kids. It's a bit of an emotional rollercoaster. Last year, I had just chased off a boy who was trying to set my beard alight, when a little girl of 4 or 5 shyly handed me a little homemade snow globe. She was obviously starstruck to be meeting Mikuláš, and her older sister was gently pushing her towards me. I thought that she just wanted my opinion, so I looked at it and said that it was very pretty in my broken Slovak. When I turned to give it back, she had run away into the crowd. Just sad rather than creepy. Kid came in and wanted nothing except from a Matchbox car. He told me how every week he heard his mom sneak into his bedroom and take the pocket money that she had given him to buy cigarettes. I felt so terrible for him that I gave him 3 to 4 different presents, rather than just one. Not a mall Santa, but I was the Best Buy box for a number of holiday seasons in the early 2000s. One year we set up a chair where you could take a picture with me. Soon it turned into people just telling me what they wanted for Christmas. Sometimes I'd have a stack of $5 gift cards and I'd give them out randomly. One kid sits down and says he wants to kick me in the crotch. The suit was heavily padded and there was a good 10 inches or so from the bottom of the box to my love spuds. Being 19 and wanting to put on a good show, I said sure. Kid winds up and musters the best kick he had. I played it up even though he actually hit my thigh. I remember everyone thinking it was so funny. I loved the early holiday seasons working there. Some of my best memories came from those times. We had a fantastic management team who were like family. Then it all changed and everything went sour. Such is life, I guess. 239 FTW. My uncle was a mall Santa for a while. He said that the worst thing he was asked for by a child was, "Can you get daddy to come home?" He also had quite a few kids tug on his beard, which was a real beard, to verify that he was actually Santa. I was the Santa for an office party. It was my first year with the company and apparently the tradition went that the newest guy had to wear the suit. Also something about how the suit was cursed. Anyway, skip forward to the party. I'm going around taking pictures with people I barely knew at the time, and then it gets to where presents were being handed out. Now I had sat in the back because the CEO was the one handing out presents, didn't want to confuse people where the real money was lol, and minding my own business. This woman think mid-40s kinda cougar Y walks up to me drunk out of her mind and she sits on my lap. Now I'm all for keeping character, so I ask why. Hello, what would you like for Christmas? And she says, without hesitation, I'd love for my husband to f me in the ass while you watched. Now, when presented with the opportunity, I maintained composure and politely declined while attempting to get her off my lap. After she said it's fine, my husband's good with it, let me get him, and that's when she screams out "Pat!" at the top of her lungs. I shit you not, the whole party heard, and turned to see the new guy with the CEO's wife on his lap. Now remember when I said cursed? Apparently this wasn't the first time, and others had accepted the offer. I still worked there. Never was a Santa, but once while being the Easter Bunny I had a kid tell me, I wish I could poop chocolate eggs like you. Former mall Santa. Even bought a professional suit because I hated the one they provided. I got a few creepy stories that involves college students and adults. Kids. A little girl no more than 5 was screaming bloody murder when it was her turn. Kids get scared of Santa. Not that uncommon. Her dolled-up mom was having none of her child's tantrum and the elves were pleading with her to not put the girl on my lap. She did, and that her kid instantly stopped screaming. Just had this look of pure hatred at her mom for the remainder of the photo session. I swear, I thought I was on candid camera before YouTube. Y'all, it looked so acted out. Attempting to talk to the little terror, I asked her what she wanted for Christmas. She looked at me and softly said, just above a whisper, for my mommy to die. Noped myself to a break after that one. It was the inside joke for the rest of the mall Santa season. Whispering between kids, I want you to die. College students. One rather lonely overweight gal kept getting in line several times a week to get pictures with Santa. I was in college myself back then, and I'm pretty sure she was working herself up to asking me out. Extremely shy, awkward, and had some hygiene issues. She only paid for one of the photos, but the elves remember seeing her throughout the week when I wasn't on shift. Apparently only got pictures with me. Adults. I was in my 20s, and the perverted things the MILFs whispered into my ear while sitting on Santa's lap were definitely something for the naughty list, to be sure. It became so frequent for the younger Santas to get groped, teased and molested that the elves were told to stay close when adults got their pictures taken. Elf security, to be sure. Man, you know your sex life's hit a dry spell when you hit on Santa. No offense or anything, lol, I'm sure you were an awesome Santa, but still. I wasn't Santa, but I have a good Santa story from being a kid. We used to be really poor for a long time, up until my last year of middle school, and until first grade we lived at my grandma's house, who was in a much more fortunate life situation than us. And I have a lot of memories of kids getting better presents than me and being disappointed with Christmas as a child for a while. But this was probably best Christmas I've ever had. I used to pray every night for about a year or so. This was when I was 4 for a goldfish. I did it for like 30 minutes every night when I thought everybody else was asleep. And turns out my parents had been listening, so they had hired my neighbor that happened to have the big beard, and all the other characteristics Santa might have, to dress up as Santa and wait in my grandma's house on the couch, holding the bowl of 2 goldfish that my parents had bought me. We were all coming back from going out on Christmas Eve, and my mom let me unlock the door to the house, only to see motherfucking Santa sitting on my couch with the only thing I wanted as a kid. I was the happiest kid on earth that day. My fish died when I accidentally dropped them in the garbage disposal while cleaning my fish bowl like 3 months later. Years ago, I was in line with my 6-year-old nephew for his visit with Santa. When Santa asked my nephew what he wanted for Christmas, he said, "Could you get mommy and daddy some pajamas? Because they don't wear any." The whole line broke up, including Santa. Not a Santa, but I worked at a mall taking photos of kids visiting Santa, so I heard a lot. I don't remember anything super creepy. Several kids asked for their parents to be home for Christmas. I live next to a huge US Army base and the parents were in the armed forces. One kid asked for a remote to use on his baby sibling. He wanted to use the mute button. A few wanted their grandparents to come back passed away, or for a family member to be cured of cancer. One wanted a dog that couldn't die. All of these are really sad except for the mute button kid. That just sounds funny. My dad plays Santa for the community every year. A little girl once asked for a nicer daddy. My boyfriend is a Santa for private events, and has been doing it for over 20 years, so he has a bunch of stories. He was doing a private adults-only party, so all of the ladies were being a bit flirty, but nothing crazy. Santa Baby started playing and the ladies dragged him onto the dance floor. He shimmies a bit and goes to sit back down when a woman grabs him and starts grinding on him. He tries to get away from her in character, what will Mama Claus think, etc. But she keeps on grinding and starts to moan. Finally, the hostess notices and gets her away from him, but she kept trying to get to him the rest of the night. The saddest story was definitely when a little kid 4 or 5 crawled into his lap and, with a big, sweet smile, asked Santa, "Can you make my mommy love me?" My boyfriend has to hug the kid so he wouldn't see him tearing up and told him that that was a request for a higher power and that he and Mama Claus would pray about it. Kids seemed happy with that response. Had a kid ask Santa, "What happens to all the dead kids' toys?" "They'll end up in your stocking if you don't shut up. And the toys too." My dad plays a mall Santa and I used to be the photographer. Watching the older women flirt with my dad was highly uncomfortable, then creepy. Not a Santa, but I remember being in hospitals a lot as a kid with serious stomach issues. I remember asking a mall Santa if I could get better and not die once when I was about 8 or 9 years old. When the mall Santa looked at me sadly and said he couldn't do that, almost in tears, I asked if my old dog that died as a puppy could be brought back as a zombie so we could both be dead together, and if I could come back as a zombie too so I could stay with my parents so they wouldn't be sad. Looking back, that was really creepy and I think I broke the poor guy's heart. I wasn't a mall Santa, but I played one of his elves. I think the worst thing a kid ever asked for was some reindeer sausage. He figured Santa could slaughter one of his reindeer for the venison. I was Santa for corporate holiday parties one year. I was in my 30s but used a spray for my beard. Looked lifelike. Kids dug it. So did one aunt who threw a kid off my lap hers. I hope and whispered that she wanted Santa to her from behind while pulling her hair. She didn't seem to be drunk. I was very uncomfortable. Then the meeting planner told me she does that every year. Not a Santa. My little brother, when he was around 5 or 6 years old, asked Santa for a vacuum cleaner and a rope. Santa gave my mom a really weird look, but my brother loved to vacuum the living room. He would get mad if anybody else did it, and say, "I was gonna do it." The rope was so he could tie a wagon to the back of his bike and use it as a trailer. But Santa didn't know that. Though my brother was some kind of slave child, possibly seeking to hang himself. I wasn't a Santa but my roommate was. This was at a spot in East Brooklyn, a super impoverished area riddled with a lot of drugs and violence. He said it was disturbing how many kids had literally nothing, so they asked for the most basic things. Or they just asked to get out of shitty situations. He said stuff like this was common: "I wish my mom would stop hitting me. I wish my brother was still alive. He got shot. I wish we had enough money for a microwave. I wish my daddy would stop doing heroin." Stuff like that was everywhere. My wife and I adopt a kid every year to buy them Christmas presents through a local charity. Their lists always depress us as it'll include basic necessities like a jacket or gloves. We end up spending more money on whoever we adopt than our own family members. All of our nieces, nephews, and my son are gonna have a great Christmas every year. This could be this kid's only one. My friend's dad used to be a Santa. He couldn't stop crying after a shift one time. When we finally got him to say what was wrong, he said a little girl told him she didn't want any item for Christmas. She wanted a new daddy who won't touch her. Her dad was there with her. Friend's dad had to enact the emergency protocols. Girl didn't want to talk to police about it unless Santa was with her. He heard some shit.